time is the one resource we can't get back. So
Yeah.
if you're going to use your time to make money, you should make that money work for you, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's the money that you spend. So look at your dollars as your employees, right? Every George Washington, every Abraham, every Benjamin Franklin, those are your employees, and you need to put them to work. And the money that they make, that's the money that you spend, because they'll work 24/7 for you, right? They let's be real. Those same people and those dollars, they had our people working 24/7, and they didn't give them nothing for it. That's how you
Mm-hmm.
return the
It's
favor.
only right. It's
It is
only right.
only right. Hello, 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 Trigger Happy family. We are super excited to be here with you today. Welcome back to the podcast. As you know, this is the number one place to explore the triggers that shape our lives. Now, you already know we're going to do so with some raw honesty and some unfiltered conversations.
So get ready to laugh, cry, and discover something new about yourself. You can keep spiraling or deal with your triggers, your choice. If you're with us today, it just might mean you're ready to deal with yours. So let's tap on in.
There we go. We are super excited. Today we have Ramel Lee. He is the managing partner for RD Lee Capital Partners. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well, and excited about being on your show. Got to see some episodes and see the work that you ladies do, and great work. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Now, we do this for everyone, and we want to make sure that we are initiating you into the trigger happy family. So the only question that we ask all of our guests is, outside of all the roles, titles, and things that you do and have accomplished, who is it that you say that you are?
Honestly, really, I'm just a kid from Brooklyn that always wanted to get money with his friends. Like
Get money.
that's been me since as far back as I remember. Whether
Yeah.
it was like selling candy with and say, hey, all right, I'll get a box, and then you get a box, and we'll get our money together, and we'll get more boxes, or you know, to throwing parties. Say I went from cop to capital. I
Ooh.
did 22 years in law enforcement in New York with the MTA.
Wow.
Yeah, and you when you start out, everyone tells you, you throw your money into the pension, and when you retire, you won't need as much money. And I was like, y'all don't know me. Like when I retire, I plan on doing all the things I can't do while I'm
Yeah.
working. So
Right.
I'm gonna need more money. So
Hmm.
that led me down my entrepreneurial path and my investment path. So
So then you say you're just a kid from Brooklyn who wanted to get money. So then would you say it was born in you or it was nurtured by your environment? I always like to know nature versus nurture, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I would have to say both really.
Okay.
I told my mother and my father, they were both hustlers, and legal hustlers in the sense of they worked. My mother never turned down an overtime hour. Like she was big on getting her money. And then
Hmm.
just growing up in Brooklyn in the '90s, uh, you had the other kind of hustlers out there, and they were getting money, and then rap changed. The music you was listening to. We went from Fight the Power, Chuck D, to, like you said, Biggie, Get Money, Jay Z, all that stuff. And so it just a combination of being outside in the environment and seeing it and dealing with it, and then it being reinforced at home. That money equals freedom, and I love my freedom. So I felt money was the way to achieve it.
Yeah, and I want us, you earlier you mentioned the word, it started your investment journey. And when people hear investing or alternative investments, what is that? Let's just break it all the way down.
Yeah.
Like what
Okay.
does that even mean and what's needed to get started? Because a lot of times we hear investing, we hear those buzzwords, especially now, and it sounds good, but it's like, what?
Right. So we my company, RD Lee Capital Partners, we specialize in alternative investments, right? So what we generally hear and taught about investing is stocks and bonds. Those are
Mhm.
regular investments. And before I get deep into it, I just really want to make it clear, I'm not a financial advisor. I run an alternative investment firm. I manage a fund. So, before you make any decisions about your investing, you should definitely consult your personal financial advisor, whoever that may be, accountant, bookkeeper, mother-in-law, whoever your personal financial
Not
advisor is.
mother-in-law.
So, hey, listen, some people, they got good people to give them good advice, but whoever you consult with, that's who you should get your personal financial advice from. But as far as alternative investments are things outside of stocks and bonds, such as real estate, crypto, oil and gas, investing in other small businesses. Um, they're the saying, it takes money to make money. That actually was the law until 2012.
Ah,
Yeah.
what does
So
that mean?
with the Jobs Act that President Obama passed,
Mhm.
uh, there's accredited and non-accredited investors.
Okay.
So an accredited investor is someone who makes over $200,000 a year or has
Hmm.
$1 million net worth, not including their primary residence. So
Okay.
prior to 2012, those were the only people that could invest in alternative assets. The government said that, if you don't have at least that, then you're probably not a savvy investor
Okay.
already, and you really can't afford to take a loss. So,
Mhm.
but with the Jobs Act, that allowed non-accredited investors to invest in alternative assets, because our belief is that stocks and bonds are great for maintaining your wealth, to
Mhm.
hedging against inflation, because every day your money isn't making money, it's actually losing value.
Yeah.
So stock market is great for that. But, you know, in my experience, our people, we're looking to make money, like we're looking to grow. We're not looking to just maintain. And that's where alternative investments come in. They're higher risk, yes, but they're definitely a higher reward. And they allowed you to two, three, 4x your money.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. So we getting a good understanding. We always like to make sure that whenever we bring guests on, especially about topics that may seem a little scary, that we first define like, yo, what are we talking about? How does this even work? How does it make sense? So then, because we're talking about topics that, especially for folks in Black and brown communities, historically has not been discussed around our dinner tables, what do you think is, in your opinion, the mindset shift that would need to happen in our
Mm.
communities in order for us to adopt and then to take full advantage of these emerging and alternative investment opportunities?
So, in my opinion, the biggest mindset shift is you have to go from a consumer mindset to an investor mindset.
Okay.
I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself a sneakerhead by any means, compared to other people I know. But I do own my fair share of Nikes,
A
right?
hundred or more.
No, 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 less than that, right? So,
Okay.
but I will say that if every penny I spent on Jordans, I invested in Nike, I could afford 10 times the amount of Jordans that I brought, right?
Yeah.
So it's about changing from that investor, that consumer mindset to that investor mindset, right? There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with buying things. There's nothing wrong with having a luxurious life, or, as other ladies now call it, a soft life, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. However, your income shouldn't be paying for those things, right? You should
Mhm.
that's you trading your time for those objects, right? That's
Mhm.
saying the 40 hours that I work this week is in that bag, in that belt, right? And that's
Yeah.
time. And time is the one resource we can't get back. So
Yeah.
if you're going to use your time to make money, you should make that money work for you, and then
Hmm.
that's the money that you spend. So look at your dollars as your employees, right? Every George Washington, every Abraham, every Benjamin Franklin, those are your employees, and you need to put them to work. And the money that they make, that's the money that you spend, because they'll work 24/7 for you, right? They let's be real. Those same people and those dollars, they had our people working 24/7, and they didn't give them nothing for it. That's how you
Hmm.
return the
It's
favor.
only right. It's
It is
only right.
only right. Driver, you're not a part of the community yet? Being in community is the game changer and the cheat code.
And this is more than just a membership. It's your growth circle, accountability hub, and safe space for navigating the messy yet beautiful work of becoming your best self.
And not only will you get exclusive tools, live access, and the support designed to help you transform your triggers, but you'll also get the tools that you need to build new habits that help you to lead with clarity, confidence, and joy.
Time to create lives that feel as good as they look. See you soon, Thrive Tribe. Visit justthrivenow.com.
Right, you turn around, you take them, and you have them work 24/7, and just keep them working for you, and that's the money that you spent, and that's the mindset change that really needs to happen. Got to go from consumer, because Black people, our we spend about almost $2 trillion annually, right? If we were our own nation, we'd have the eighth largest economy in the world, right?
Wow.
Think about all the countries that you've been to that look great, and they're able to have education and healthcare and all that stuff. We would be the eighth largest economy in the world,
Can we
right?
just pause for a second? The fact that literally, no, everyone was not taken from the continent, but the fact that the ones that were taken came over here chained, and of course, not everyone, but came over here chained, our religion taken away, our children taken away, our husbands, our families separated, raped, beaten, broken, and still it hasn't been that much time since slavery. We were in slavery in this country longer than we've been out of it. If I am I is that a lie or a truth? We're gonna
That's
figure
right.
out, we're gonna do the math
That's true.
later.
Yeah,
No,
we've
no,
been.
that's a hundred. I could,
That's a
yeah,
fact. Yeah.
that's a fact.
So then the fact that we have been enslaved longer than we've been out, and we still are at we number 8, that's top 10. If we can all get behind and understand what power that is, it's literally like no matter what you do to us, we don't die, we multiply.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And we multiply with compounded type of like access, power. And you put us in, we soar and excel. So I'm thinking about it now. I can understand why there might be a little fear in terms of like what we're capable of, because yo, that is wild. And I never even thought about it until you just said something.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, right? That's part of what made us put together our elite capital partners and launch the fund was our belief in cooperative economics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I was saying before, I became an accredited investor through my entrepreneurial skills, right? So I didn't have I got exposed and access to all sorts of investments, right? I'm on lists where I get invited to invest in Broadway plays. I get invited to invest in movies, like the movies like Marvel, like we see them. People invest their money into that stuff. I get whiskey barrels, things like that, and it's just in experiencing that, realizing most of my people don't have that access, is
Yeah.
why we decided to create a vehicle to give them access, right? So now through the new the Jobs Act and things like that, which is the enactment of it, the law passed in 2012. The enactment of it actually didn't happen until 2016. So it's less than 10 years
Mhm.
that not non-accredited investors, the majority of people, have had the opportunity to invest in these things. And we love the hotel business. That was one thing people was most excited about, because and people don't know about it, because out of the 60,000 plus hotels in the US, less than 2% are Black owned. So we are less likely to run into someone who owns or invested in a hotel than anyone else. and but we use them like crazy, right? Black tourism, black travel is up exponentially, right? So
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, it was very important for us to create this cooperative economic vehicle for our people to invest in these alternative investments.
Yeah, and you know, Alicia mentioned we didn't typically have these conversations at the dinner table, and we know that a lot of other communities invest a lot in the youth. They invest a lot in their children, the way they educate them, the way they decide to indoctrinate them with certain principles and ideals. What are some things that you feel like we should be talking to our children about? You know, like how can we start the molding process from as young as possible to make sure that they're more financially literate, more financially savvy as they get older, as opposed to many of us having to learn the hard way without a blueprint. Like, no one had these conversations with us, like you said. You know, they don't even know to have the conversations. Not that they refuse to; they don't even have the information. They don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
So, how would you suggest that we instill some of these things in our children early, so that the next generation and the generation after that doesn't have to fight as hard?
Yeah, there's a few things, and I've even struggled with this myself, right? We want to give the kids everything that we didn't have, but it's more important to teach them all the things that we didn't know, right? I have 33 years on my oldest, right? So I waited a long while before I had kids, right?
That's a
So
good thing.
well, it seemed like it at the time, and now I'm watching the people my age and their kids are leaving, and so they're But anyway, so one of the things is I was speaking with my son. I was telling him, you know, when you're 25, I'll be almost 60. You should have the knowledge of a 60-year-old by the time you're 25, right? I'm gonna
I
pour into
like
you,
that.
and you know how we always say, man, if I knew then, what I know now, your kids is the new then, right? They're the new then. So you know it now. You give it to them, and everything's cyclical. Everything happens again. What's old is new again. So the opportunities that you missed when you were young, they're gonna pop right up for your children. And if you give them the information, everything that you learned, they'll be prepared for it. They'll be able to act on it when you weren't able to act on it. We a lot of people throw around the phrase generational wealth. Generational wealth isn't getting yourself what you do for yourself. It's not even really what you do for your child, right? You guys are basically growing up together. Generational wealth is making financial decisions that's going to impact your grandchildren. That's the
Ah,
true definition of generational wealth, right? Because you
okay.
and your kids, you're in it, right? Like the decisions that the life you live today is decisions that you made 5, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
So right now, as adults, you can make decisions now that's going to greatly impact your grandchildren, and that's where the generational wealth starts. Your children is going to watch you make those decisions, and they'll in turn then make the decisions for their grandchildren, right? Because their kids
Hmm.
are taken care of by you, and
Yeah.
that's how you create generational wealth. That's how you keep money in your family for 100, 200 years, by focusing truly on the next generation, your grandchildren. And
Yeah,
we
and
see.
also making sure that you teach them, like you said it earlier, don't just give them the things. And I used to, so my sister and I, we co-parent, and I love her dearly. And also, she would just give my daughter the things, like their favorite store is Hermes and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, hey, you're really setting her up to fail, because you're now, she's used to a certain lifestyle, but she doesn't understand that, yes, you guys may have spent 10K in Hermes, but you also have investments of triple that amount. Like, you have to show her both sides, because all she sees is, "Ooh, I get to buy this," instead of, "Ooh, but I've invested double this amount before I've spent this." Like, you have to, and no, the investment might not be in Hermes, but the investment is in other assets, or other, maybe the franchise and things of that nature. So I think that maybe the biggest issue is, or not issue, but the greatest area of opportunity is teaching them versus just giving them everything.
Right. And it really goes back when you give, when you give, you're unknowingly teaching them to be a consumer, right? When you're just
Mm.
going out and you're buying things, you're just teaching them to consume. You're just teaching them to, when I get money, I spend money. When I get money, I spend
Mhm.
money. You know, you're 100% right. You have to show the other side. You have to show them where this money is coming from.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
especially if you're doing it the right way, right? Which I consider the
Mhm.
right way is you're spending the money that your money is making,
Yeah.
then they learn, right? Then they say, okay, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna make X amount of money. I don't spend that. I invest that. When that money makes money, then I go into Hermes. Then, I go into Chanel, right? That's when I go and make those purchases when my dollars have done enough work for me to afford those things.
Yeah, and you were talking about how Black people are less than 2% of hotel owners. And a lot of times, the world of private equity and even hotel ownership can feel locked away behind closed doors. Like, that
Mhm.
just feels like they not like us. Like, that's not for us. They not like us. Like, it can almost feel like a fraternity in a lot of other industries. Like, I've heard that about like ownership in football teams or any kind of athletic teams. It's not just about you having money. You can have the capital, but if you don't have the relationships, if you don't have the look, the politics, and all the things that are involved, so it's like when you don't, when what is it? What kind of barriers did you face when you were trying to enter? Some of these spaces and some of these worlds, especially as a Black man, when you were trying to get into managing, when you were trying to get into investing in some of those alternative things, what if you faced barriers, what were they?
So as shocking as, well, it wasn't shocking to me that 2%, less than 2% number ownership.
Mhm.
The more shocking number to me was 60% of the hotels owned in the US are owned by Southeast Asians, Indians.
Hmm.
And they're
Wow.
they're less than a third of our population in this country, right?
Wow.
That's an industry that they decided to attack together and dominate, right?
Wow.
So the biggest barriers I faced was, just going back a little on my entrepreneurial journey. First company we had was a security firm. Um, then COVID happened, and all my clients said, we'd never been more secure in our lives, right? Our buildings are closed. We don't need security.
We
So
good.
right, we're good. So then we shifted to logistics and we partnered with Amazon. And as you can imagine, during the pandemic, business was booming, right?
Yeah.
We're printing cash. And then the security came back online as things started opening up. And we had a really good problem of having too much cash, right? And as I said before, if your money isn't growing, it's dying, right? So
Mhm.
we started looking into investing in things, looking into real estate, looking into big enough deals where we could put enough cash, right? Because Magic Johnson has this famous interview where he says, the same time and energy it takes to make a $1 million deal, it takes to make $100 million deal, and it's true. It's very true. It sounds crazy, but it's very true. So we started looking into bigger deals to put our cash in. We came across hotels as a viable option, and that's
Mhm.
when I found my mentor, a black woman, Davon Reeves, and at the time she owned a few hotels, and she was teaching black people how to invest and buy hotels.
Mhm.
Now, as you're on the internet, you see all these people. Oh, I'm selling a course. I'm doing this, and you always say, if you know what you're doing, how do you have time to teach it, and two, if you're really that good, like why are you creating competition for yourself by teaching others, right? So I've always been skeptical of
Me
those things.
too. I'm very
Yeah.
skeptical too. Yeah.
But I seen her like on a few podcasts and a few things, and I just, for whatever reason, her message resonated with me. So I signed up for the class, and it was supposed to be an 8 week program.
Mhm.
And once I lock in on something, I'm like full steam ahead. So
Yeah.
like 10 days in, I'm asking her questions about things that are like a week 6 of the program because it's self paced. And she's
Mhm.
like, "Well, did you do this first? Do that first?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did everything." So she kind of took me under her wing, got me into my first two hotel deals in Indiana. We had a couple hotels out there, We just sold one for 17.5 million, have another under contract for a little less than 9 million.
Mm,
Congratulations.
amazing.
Like we
Thank you.
called, you're not just gonna slide past that. Like, oh, just a cool 17 million. Like, no, congratulations.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you. So, but with her mentorship, I got access. A lot of people think you need the money,
Mm-hmm.
and and I'm going to steal a line from my hotel broker, Omari Head. He says it's not access to capital, it's access to information. Right. The more I learned, the easier it got for me to maneuver through this business. Right. And so access to information. How do you build a network of people in the industry? You find out about the conferences. You find out about the industry meetups. You find out about all of these things that people are attending, and that's how you develop and build the relationships, right? Um, the Indian community. I have brothers in that community now, right? They, when there's a deal, they'll call, "Hey, Ramel, are you looking? This is, I have something going on. Someone's selling something, right?" And even they help build the Black Hotel Owners Association, right?
Oh,
It's a very small community, the hotel investing and ownership community.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows everyone, and being a legitimate minority in the business, right? I don't really call Black people minorities because there's a billion Black people on the planet, right? So that there's nothing minority about that.
At
So
all.
right, but less than 2% in the hotel business. Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. That's a
so
minority.
right. So it right now it works in my favor because when I'm at an event, I stand out. Right. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's the Black guy that owns a couple hotels. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so people remember me. But so that's the biggest challenges were just getting the information of
Okay.
where this happens, how this happens,
Mm-hmm.
who do you speak to, where to go. That was the biggest barrier.
So
And
I really like that. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say the first thing, what I hear you saying is that you actually invested in yourself first.
Yes.
Right? Like you invested in that program, even though you were skeptical, you were just like, you know what, what's the worst? Like what's the worst that could happen? I
Yeah.
lose however many thousands of dollars and whatever. Maybe I at least gain some information and some insight.
Mm-hmm.
But it really does go back to investing in yourself first and like taking those steps to educate yourself. Like a lot of times we want to skip all the steps and get to the bag. But it's
Yeah.
like, no, like you need to be able to handle that bag, to manage that bag,
Yes.
to multiply that bag. And that
Yes.
takes education, that takes information, that takes being in the right relationships and in the right rooms first so that you can then steward those things properly.
Absolutely. Like you said it, and I want to make sure I quote you correctly. You said you think you need money, but you actually need information. Like, because having the money without the knowledge or the information of what
Yeah.
to do with it, it means very, very little. And everybody thinks like, oh, I need a bag or I got to get this amount before I could do this.
Yep.
But it has been proven having more money means very little if you don't know what to do with it. Especially if you look at lottery winners, roughly 70% of them go broke within the 3 to 5 years of receiving their winnings. Because, like we were saying, many think you just need a little extra money, or to solve all my problems. But in your opinion, what would you say are the steps that one should actually take to manage and grow large sums of money? Because everybody want to get to the bag. Everybody want it
Yeah.
big, big, big.
And
17 million.
yeah, and large is relative, right? Like for
Yeah.
somebody, $5,000 is a large sum of money,
Yeah.
and for some people, $5 million is a large sum of money. So there is a range, and it is a lot of it is perspective,
Yeah.
and so we just want to make sure we're putting that in, like large sum to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, what are
Right.
those steps, like, to manage and then to scale and grow it?
So it's for me, it's really three right steps, right? First you learn, then you earn, and then you return, right? And so
Learn, earn, return. Okay, that's a
yes,
lot.
and so you learn, what you're interested in, what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You should have a passion for things
Yeah.
even that you invest in because you want to learn more about the investment, right? As much as I love having investors and they're giving me their money and paying me to grow their money, right? They're
Yeah.
still paying me to grow their money, right? So that's money out of their pocket. But when you learn, and the less you rely on someone else investing your money and you doing it yourself, that's more money you keep, right?
Yeah.
Um, and part of learn and so that so you learn about the industry, things that you like. The earning part is having a plan, right? First and foremost, you want to have a plan for your money even before you have it, right? We all have dreams and things like that. Cost out your dreams, right? I want a maid, I want a butler, I want this, I want that, I want a driver.
All the things. A
Yes.
chef.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
chef.
Yes.
Research how much those things
Nannies.
cost. Yeah, you research how much those things cost, right? And you now have a target of how much money that you need to make, right? Some of us think, "Oh, I want to be a millionaire to afford all the," and the things you might really want that'll make you happy may really you may only have, and I hate saying only, like we just said, different money is different to everyone, but it won't cost you that $1 million. It may cost you
Yeah.
$300,000, and
I
then
That's
that's
like
true
the
too.
target,
that.
right? So you come up with a plan, and we start with the end in mind, right? So just using that example, we start with we need to make $300,000 a year, right?
Hmm.
So that means we need to make X amount of dollars a month, X amount of dollars a week, X
Yeah.
Right.
amount of dollars a day, X amount of dollars an
Hmm.
hour. How do I make, it boils down to, let's say, $10 an hour. How do I make
Hmm.
that $10 this next hour? What do I need to do? And you reverse engineer it, and that's how you get to your 300,000. A lot of people, there's the return part. And so just I was saying, like, when people are successful, and how do they manage the time to teach,
Hmm.
why would they? Now I find myself going out and teaching people about investing in hotels, right? And
Yeah,
not
you already gonna be my mentor. You don't know it yet, but I have already
Yeah, we want to know.
decided that.
you
So just prepare yourself to be bothered by the both of us. Prepare yourself.
and I've been and for free, just because I'm so excited about it, and I
Yeah.
see it as an opportunity for us to get into, and even us, that do have money, we're probably not invested in that space, because, like I said, it's less than 2% of us, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
We don't
that's another
know.
way for people to diversify,
Yeah.
and by returning, like the Bible says, you give out, it comes back tenfold, right? And
Yeah.
it's been true. I've spoken at chambers. I've been invited to speak at universities. I've done, a lot of different speaking, and not even looking for investors, just being excited and teaching people. And then
Yeah.
someone that was there or heard, and they'll, hey, somebody I know wants to invest. Somebody,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, unexpectedly, and then it helps our business grow. Um, People that tend to blow their money, we keep going back to it, but they have that consumer mindset, right? I'm gonna
Hmm.
spend, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend. I'm gonna buy the car that I wanted. I'm gonna buy, even
Hmm.
though it's the lottery, it still was income, right? They
Yes.
didn't take that money and then put it to work to now have that money, your money, pay for work and pay for the things that you want. So just that, it's that switch from consumer to investor mindset changes everything.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that, as an economy, Black people spend about $8 trillion. If we were own economy, we'd be eighth in the world, right? And there's a lot of ideation that we don't got it. We're broke. We can't afford this. We can't afford that. And honestly, I believe that a lot of people, when they hear invest, they think that's for rich people. They think
Hmm.
that's for another person because, like, I don't make that. I work, I make 50K a year. Like, I don't have money to invest. I can't afford that. I'm hardly able to pay my rent. I'm hardly able to. So, not just switching the mentality from consumer to investor, but can you kind of maybe give some insight into just maybe how little you need to invest,
Ooh.
and like how to maybe start small? Because I would, go out on a limb to say many Black people don't have large lump sums of money to invest into something, and then they just completely box themselves out of the investment world, feeling like they're not worthy, one, or just feeling like they just don't have the capital to do it, when from the things that I've learned, there typically are other avenues, and even the law that you spoke about. So, can you kind of give us some insight into maybe just how little amount you might need, how little money you might need to invest, so that people can kind of help the process of switching the mindset? Because I'm sure that's a really big block. It's just kind of generation after generation of being broke or feeling like you do enough.
So there's several things that you can invest in. And as we were discussing, like having a plan, right, where you want to get to. So you can open a brokerage account, a Robinhood account, something like that, and you can invest $10, $20 when you have it. You can get a high yield savings account and have it taken directly out of your check, right? So
Yeah.
put your saving and your investing on autopilot, where you don't have to think about it, you don't even feel it, you just invest. If you have an employer that has a 401, and if it's matching, like, they're giving you more money, right? They're counting that money in your salary, and you're letting them keep it if you're
Mhm.
not maxing out that as much as you can. And it reduces your tax liability also, right? So
Mhm.
you can invest as little as, I don't care if it's $5, right? You can keep putting $5 away. The,
Yeah.
the the key to getting into something bigger than what you can personally afford is the group economic situation, right?
Exactly.
Partnering up with people, right?
Okay.
We have to get to the point where we're trusting each other and looking to get out of this situation together, right?
Yeah.
We were in
Mm.
slavery together. We were in Jim Crow together. Only way we're
Yeah.
going to get out of this is together, right? So
Yeah.
we,
Absolutely. Wow.
so you got it. So you have to build in. So and now they have these crowdfunding platforms, right? So you have a
Mhm.
platform like Vester, right? VESTERR.com, where you can invest in commercial real estate deals, hotels, car washes, things like that. And in some of these investments, I think there's one right now, a hotel in that they're building in Belize, right? You probably think I would never
Mhm.
be able to afford a hotel internationally. You can invest you $500, right? You can get a piece of that. You
Mhm.
know, that's $500 may be a lot for some people, but you're not getting into a hotel deal for $500 normally, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So
And you buy sneakers or a pair of shoes if you're a woman, depending on the type of shoe you buy. If you buy, let's say we're gonna go the love to Steve Madden, but let's say you buy 3 pairs of Steve Maddens, you're almost at $500 right there.
right, yep, right there,
That's like
and
$120
Hmm.
per shoe.
Or just look at your Uber Eats for the month and
Don't eat Uber,
right,
buy groceries and cook, and there's your $500. For me, it's always I tell my daughter too, because I've been an entrepreneur most of her life, and woo child, sometimes the pressure be getting worse. And so I always tell her, I'm like, instead of looking at what you don't have, I want you to start repositioning, changing your perspective to see, but what do I have and where can I do? What can I invest in? I love the emphasis on group economics because I may not have it by myself, but together one can chase 1,000, two can put 10,000 to flight, and little by little, a little becomes a lot. So if we do it together, there is a shift that happens. And my greatest hope and wish and goal for all, especially Black Americans, is to understand that yes, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together, and learning to work through the mental, because I think that's the worst part about the slavery that America had is they did their best to take your mind. And so if I can take your mind and tell you that no, she's evil because she is fairer skinned, or you are lazy because you're darker skinned or dirty or whatever it is, if I can make it so that you hate yourself, but hate those
hate each
who
other.
look like you,
Hmm.
working together, economics is not even something you even think to try because it's like, you Black, I don't trust you, or this is why I don't support Black businesses
Yeah.
now, like that type of a mentality. So then I would love to know, what is the impact that you've already seen in communities where, people who would normally have access to ownership are now becoming stakeholders? Because yeah, it's 2% now, but listen, once we get in there, we get in there. The rest comes along. They're like, oh, it's safe. Okay, bet we coming too.
right. No, you touched on something key there, and I want to dispel something, right? Because I hear from a lot of, like, Black people that we can't work together, we don't work together. But I
Mhm.
think all of our parents or even grandparents were involved in a susu or something like that, right? And that's
Yep.
really,
Yeah.
that's working together, right? The only
Yeah.
difference is we use the susu to pay bills and things like
Yeah,
that,
so
or get
true.
right.
My mama is still I'm Jamaican. We call it a partner,
Okay,
like a
right,
partner,
okay,
right? And she still does that to this day. And they
right,
be coming back with like 10 bands, 20
yeah,
bands, but it's to catch up on credit card debt. It's a,
Yeah.
right,
it's to get them
exactly.
out of debt. Yeah, yeah.
So imagine if that susu format was used when you got your hand, you invested in something. You
Yeah.
Wow.
know,
Yes.
now when your hand comes back around, you have more than enough to put
Yeah.
back in. And if
Mhm.
everyone did that, it goes from everyone putting in $100 a month to $200 a month to $400 a month, and everyone every time your hand comes around, you buy another business, you invest in another business, right? So
Yes.
so we have the framework. We just, once again, it's that consumer to investor mindset shift, right? That
Mhm.
use the susu to invest rather than consume. You
Yeah.
know? But what I've seen is that as I go around and I teach people about hotel investing and people invest with us and things like that, the conversations that they have change, right? So when they're speaking to people, and like we were talking, oh, um, yeah, oh, I think I just got approved. I'm gonna be able to get this Kelly bag, and then someone says, oh, yeah, I just, I dropped $20,000 on a hotel. A hotel? Yeah, I'm part owner of a hotel, and now the conversation. Now the person who was going to about to spend the money, they're now like scratching their head, like,
Is this worth it?
Right.
yeah, right. I wait for the same amount of money that I'm gonna pay for a bag that I can't wear too much because it can't be in every picture, right? That now, I can now invest this money and
Mhm.
I could get two, three bags, right? And still have the original money that I was gonna buy the first bag with, right? So that's the biggest thing I see. And like we started out earlier about how we don't have these discussions.
Mhm.
It When you start investing, it changes your discussion, it changes the
Mhm.
topic of the conversations that you're having, because you get excited about it. You want other people, 'cause once you realize how simple it is,
Yeah.
you love to tell people, there's, just like like a lot of things we do in life, like we put it off and we wait to the last minute to do it and say, oh, that only took 20 minutes, I could have did this 3 weeks ago, right? The same thing happens with investing, right? You say, I don't have enough, I don't have time, I don't know what to invest, and then you just take some money, invest in something, and it starts doing well, and you go, oh, I could have been doing this for years, right?
Forever, right?
Forever,
Yeah, it's
ever.
the same thing with like working out. Like you're like, damn, I could have
Ex-
just if I just stuck with
Yeah,
it for the last 6 months, I would have been lit. Like, you
right.
know?
And then when you start working out, eating right, you want to start telling everybody else, you're not supposed to eat that, or you're
Yes.
doing that exercise wrong, right? The same,
You
Yeah.
become an evangelist.
Yeah.
right. The
Right, because you
same,
want I think most people genuinely want others, and sometimes people say like people want you to do good but not better than them. I
yeah,
find that when you're really doing very well, it's like you want everybody to come with you because I don't want to have to dim my light to be around you, boo.
Yo.
Like I want you on the yacht with me. I want you to be able to book the next yacht,
Yeah.
buy the next bottle. Like it's like you always say, it's only lonely at the top if you take no one with you. And it's
right.
like people don't understand, like people doing better than you, it should be like a ladder. Like, oh, you're doing better than
Yeah.
me right
All
now,
right.
and then I'll be doing better than you then. And then we just use each other to go up the rung one by one.
Yeah.
I wanted you to give a little testimony about maybe a time where you invested something and the return, maybe you were a little hesitant, maybe there was some resistance, maybe there were some challenges, and the return ended up being, much more than you expected. Just something to kind of encourage people like this is a real thing. It's not being made up. It doesn't just sound good. Like just like a real life story of a time that you invested in something that may have been a little riskier than maybe you usually do, and it paid off big.
Okay, so I guess the biggest the biggest payoff I had, like I said, when the pandemic happened, we shifted to logistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Amazon had reached out and said, you filled out an application to do business with us. Are you still interested? I was running a security company. I was working full time. I was in a Goldman Sachs program, right? Like,
I did
and
that too.
you did. Oh, okay, all right. And so you know how intense that can be too. So right, I'm doing all
Yes.
three things at once, and people make fun of me, but I have a philosophy of saying yes and then figuring it out, right?
Me
So
too.
Leap
it's,
and the net will appear. Okay.
right. And so I told Amazon, yeah. And then they were like, all right, well, we're flying you out to Vegas to interview with us. Okay.
Oh,
And then before I got on my flight back, they're like, congratulations, we want you to be part of the program. And this is like February, and we want you to set up in March for training. You're gonna go to Seattle and then Chicago, and so I had to do all these things
while working.
while working and running another business, right? And so I just and so and then I had to invest like my startup money because to get the business started and off the ground, vans, employees, systems, all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing it, and this was before the program was well known and big, is I'm like,
Mhm.
what, I don't know a thing about logistics. What the heck am I doing, right? But I learned, I worked hard at it, and it was life changing. Right, like I said, it was money that I I've only heard about in movies, right? And so yeah, and then that was probably the biggest thing, that I invested my time and money in,
Mhm.
and it opened the door to everything else.
That is amazing. It's this thing where, and I used to be really, really big on, failure and, oh my God, I don't want to fail, or, oh, what if it doesn't work out? Like actual heart wrenching, gut wrenching anxiety. And I was asleep one night, and I dream. And when I dream in strategy, solutions. It's wild. I used to wake up and tell my then partner, like, the things I would come up with in my head sleeping, and he'd be like, please listen, when you wake up, can you please not tell me like all the dreams and stuff, because that is overwhelming. I knew then that wasn't gonna work, but the
I know what
thing
you
that
mean.
literally the thing that came to me, and is something that I now share widely, is great or failure is merely greatness in its infancy. If you can understand that the risky piece, that piece that you're avoiding, literally is the catalyst to get you to break through to the other side, to the vision, the big goals, the big things that. But if you can't get over the fact that you may fail at something, or you don't know something, or you have to learn something new, if you can't get over that fact, you'll never maximize or reach the greatest level of your potential, because you're always trying to stay safe enough so that you don't rock the boat. Flip it over if you have to. But if you can understand failure is merely greatness in its infancy, and yeah, there may be times where you invest and it does not pan out, but that is one compared to the 1,000 that will pan out, simply because you are more than willing to invest time, energy, effort, resources, money into the vision that you have for yourself. So I love what you just said, because it's like, yo, you can figure it out. Like everything is figure outable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I get asked those type of questions, especially with the environment that we're in. People say, well, are you nervous about like investing in this, what's going on right now with the
AI.
country and the economy? And I
Yeah.
say, listen, I tell people about risk. The biggest problem is I think people don't take enough risk, right?
Yeah.
One thing goes wrong and they're like, I'm never doing that again, ever, 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 right? But
Yeah.
but they don't realize, especially when it comes to this investing thing, you only have to be right once. Right?
Ooh.
You only have to find the one Uber, right, before it goes public, right? You
Yeah.
only have to find the one Airbnb before it goes public. These
Mhm.
people, the most wealthy investors, the venture capitalists,
Mhm.
they're happy if they're right 20 to 30% of the time.
Wow.
That
So
means
there's a lot of failure. There's a
right.
lot, a
That means
lot.
yeah, 8 out of 10 times they're wrong, and they're comfortable with that
Wow.
because they know the 2 3 times that they're right is going to far
Hit.
exceed everything that they lost.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, that's
And
good advice.
and so you want to be smart, right? It's not gambling. You want to take calculated and educated risks, but
Mhm.
you have to take them, right? Like I
Mhm.
think it was Jordan who said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." right?
That
Yeah.
part.
And so, you have to, and if you watch Jordan, you just keep shooting, right? But you're gonna have that 60-point game eventually, right? So,
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing with risk, that people should understand, is that you will take L's,
Yeah.
without a doubt. You will take L's, but that one W will make up for every L you ever took.
Yeah, I
Mm.
definitely believe that. And a lot of times, especially with Black people, we're very communal in a way where it's like, well, my grandma did that and that didn't work. Or, like we're in our family settings and we just take on all those things. Or the flip side, where I've seen like one of the big things a lot of Black people are investing now is real estate, right? Like we're buying homes, we're trying to invest more. And we feel like that's a way to build generational wealth. But I feel like there's some other untapped markets,
Yeah.
like you've been speaking about, like hotels and things like that. I wanted to know if there were some other ones that you could mention that may be unsexy or overlooked that are worth taking a look at and are worth investing in, instead of just like, okay, somebody, made investing in real estate really popular. So now we're all on that bandwagon. But how much more effective would we be if we split up the bandwagons and had a few bandwagons going? You know what I'm saying?
At a time.
As opposed to just all hitching our wheel to this one bandwagon and hoping for the best and riding. It's just like, investing in homes is good, but there's just so many other things that my husband always says, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like you just like, it doesn't even come to your brain to think about it. So I think it would be good if people just had an idea as to what are some other things they could be looking at to invest into that, like I said, just aren't as attractive.
And I'm glad you said unattractive, unsexy, because we, like, everyone looks to, oh, I want to get that Bitcoin, you know,
Hmm.
10 years ago, and be a millionaire now. Everyone looks for that, and really, when I say put your money to work, your money's going to work. It's going to work hard. It's going to be a
Yeah.
grind,
Hmm.
but that's why you want to put it in a place where it's working 24/7.
Yeah.
Some things that, a big thing that's happening now that may or may not be spoken about is there's a huge wealth shift happening right now in the country.
Hmm.
You know, believe it's over 70% of all small businesses right now are owned by baby boomers, right?
Yep.
They're all people reaching retirement age. Now, a lot of these people, they had small businesses, but they were really self-employed, right? They were running it, working it, things like that. Their
Hmm.
kids want no part of that, right? They gave their kids a better life. Their kids went to college. Now they're managing and working at companies where they're probably making more than their parents did, working at to the bone for their business. So they don't want any part of the business. So these people
Hmm.
are either just shutting down their businesses, but most of them are looking to sell, right, for their retirement, for that big nest egg.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you want to look into things like that. So you want to look into um, things like, something as simple as like a laundromat, right? Um,
Hmm.
you want to look into uh, manufacturing things, right? I know a guy who he invested in a rubber company, right? You would never think about that, rubber manufacturing company,
Hmm.
and he's in. And the great thing is the baby boomers with these businesses. If you have a mother or grandmother of a certain age, you have to help them with every app, every email, right? Right. So
Yes.
they never updated their systems to today. They're leaving a lot of money on the table. They do no marketing, right? They're not on social media. They're not advertising anything that they produce or sell, right? You can come into one of those businesses, bring in today's technology, just the things that you know and use, and you can grow that
Mhm.
business 20, 30%, right? To the point where you don't have to run the day to day. You can hire a manager who knows what they're doing, who knows that industry to run it, and you just watch the books and collect your money. So there's businesses like that. If you like real estate, there's a lot of different verticals in real estate. Like, I'm into hotels, and not into luxury hotels, right? I'm not looking to buy Waldorf Astorias or anything like that. I'm buying like Hamptons, Red Roof Inns, things
Yeah.
like that. Those are big cash flowing assets.
Mhm.
You have storage facilities. You guys are probably seeing them being put up everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's
And they
because
make money.
they
Okay.
make, and they have limited problems, right? Some people don't want to be a landlord, right?
Mhm.
So that, um, one of the big things is data centers, right? With all this AI and robotics and everything, they're still run on servers, right? The cloud isn't like something in the sky that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? The cloud
Right.
is actual servers somewhere, and they need a place to put all of these servers. So people are building these
Mm.
data centers for these companies, and it's similar to the story, like very limited overhead, right? You're not dealing with tenants, you're not dealing with workers, you're
Mhm.
just building the structure and the infrastructure to hold these servers, right? And so that's
Mhm.
big business. So there are a lot of things out there that you can invest in, and a lot of different opportunities and different vehicles for you to put your money in. Right, you don't need the $4 or $5 million it'll cost to build a storage unit. Right, find someone who's pooling people together, someone who's creating that cooperative economics, and just put your money in
Yeah.
and reap the benefits of it.
Listen, this whole conversation, I was excited to have it, but now being in the conversation, I'm just like, oh my God, there is so much that we can discuss, go through, learn. But we here for a good time, not a long time. So I would love to know, where can folks stay connected with you? If they, let's say, they want to learn more or even invest with you. Although, yes, they are going to need to consult their financial advisors and whomever else beforehand to make sure it's the best, route for them. But how can we stay connected with you?
Well, you could visit our website, rdleecp.com.
Mhm.
That's our website. You can sign up for our email list. We just finished a successful first round of capital raising for this fund, but
Mhm.
you can get put on the waiting list for when we start the second round of funding. And we just push out information about investing, about what we're doing, um, social media, RD Lee Capital Partners. There's underscores all in there. I'm not gonna, but if you put it in, you'll find it on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. And so yeah, and we're constantly posting content about the hotel industry and other investments that we're making.
That is awesome. Well,
Amazing.
you can stay connected with us everywhere at Triggered AFPC. You can also stay connected with me at Alechia Reese. That's spelled Alechia. Last name Reese, Reese.
You can stay connected with me at the Dani Bourdeau. Bourdeau is Bourdeau. And make sure you go to, would you say triggerdaypodcast.com?
Yeah.
Go to justthrivenow.com. We have a lot of really cool things coming your way. I really hope you all enjoyed this conversation. Share it with your mama, share it with your daddy, share it with your friends, share it with whoever will listen, because these are the conversations that we have that really push the culture forward, right? Like, this is what we need to be talking about at our dinner tables. This is what we need to be kikiing about at the barbecue, at the reunion.
Yeah,
We want to make sure we're having more productive conversations so we can live better lives.
absolutely. So until next time,
Bye.
bye.